Hello. Hello everyone. I hope you can hear me well and see my screen. Please confirm if everything is fine with connection, with sound, if you can hear and see me. Please write pluses in live streaming channel. Vladislav tells us that he can't, but after we received 3 pluses. Okay, it seems that everything is fine. So while I am prepare environment for checking students' solution, maybe you could tell me how is it going? Was it easy for you, or was it I don't know, was it difficult, or something in the middle? What are your expectations? And did this task meet them? For Dr. Pepper, everything is fine. I think this task shouldn't be hard for you, especially taking into account that this is kind of preparation for your next task, because in the first one you learn and try to use Node.js APIs separately, and then you will try to combine them to make it a console application. So you will have more practice for better understanding, and you will try to use it closer to some real-world examples. Okay, streams are hard. Yes, streams are not so easy, especially if you are a front-end developer, which don't use streams very often. But streams is familiar for those people who are familiar with backend development, and streams present not only in Node.js. And it's like important concept that is good to know for you anyway, even if you don't use Node.js. Also in Angular, front-end development also has streams, and we have web streams. Yeah, I mean, it's used less often, to be honest. How to check the work of child processes, you will see during the code review. Today we review solution of student with GitHub ID Gusatin, probably. And if you noticed, you have cross-check manual, which tells you how to check student works. And important technical requirement is that you have to install 18 version of Node.js. You have to use LTS version. I already mentioned it, but please ensure that you have proper version of Node.js. So let's follow the instructions. First of all, we have to clone repository with project. So we are going to students repository, and we will try to clone it using SSH, because I configured it. I created empty folder here. So let's use command git clone and provide SSH URL. We did it not in proper folder, sorry. Let's go to folder task1 and repeat this operation. And here we are. We have folder with student solution. Let's open it, make it more convenient for us. So we are on the main branch, and I already opened assignment and score calculation. I opened project in VS Code or any other code editor, but I highly recommend you to use VS Code because it's free and it contains a lot of useful stuff, and it would be easier for you to check student works because probably most of the people use Visual Studio Code on this course. And we need to start to check subtask according to the assignment description. And you can run functions inside of the assignment by direct call of these files. For example, I can go to, let's say I can go to src folder, but let's switch to development branch. I can go to src folder and I can run function inside of, for example, copy file by using Node.fs copy.js, and it should work well. But in order not to do this, not to switch between folders, we have pre-written script in package.json that do the same stuff. And by the way, it provides you with environment variables in a cross-env manner. It also provides you with CLI arguments in order not to type it manually. So using this script, all those scripts may be more convenient for you. Okay. Do you have any questions at this stage? It seems that not really. Sorry, it's not so convenient for me to switch between live streaming channel in Discord and here. So weather is too hot. Yeah, it's important information, but please write your questions to live streaming channel. And it would be easier for me to take a look at one place. Thank you in advance. And here you have example how to check subtask. I think you all have read this algorithm, and we will just check all subtasks. So let's probably start. First of all, let's ensure that we have a proper version of Node.js, Node-version. We have Node LTS version, so let's switch to proper version of Node.js. We will use NVM for this, and now we use LTS version of Node.js. It's important because some functionality may be experimental or unavailable for earlier version. Let's begin. First of all, let's check file system part of assignment. Let's open corresponding folder. File system create. In create file, we had to implement function that creates new file. And sorry, let me make it looking better. Could you please tell me whether I should make fonts bigger, or it's okay for you? Yes, you have almost 1 week for this. Size of text, it's okay? Okay, thank you. So, what we had to do here? We have to implement function that creates new file which named fresh.txt with content I'm fresh and young inside of files folder. Files folder is here, and in case if file already exists, it should throw error with message fs operation failed. Let's take a look at the code. First of all, we get current dir name. We do it using custom functions. Function named getDirName from URL. Let's check what's inside. And yes, we use dirName from pass module, which transforms URL from meta property of import to which transforms URL property of import from meta, and we pass it to dirName. By the way, we shouldn't have code that we don't use, so if we don't use stat, we don't need to have it here. After that, we join pass from current directory to pass fragment files, which represents our files folder, and file name fresh.txt. If you will put your cursor to join method, you can see that it accepts array of pass fragments. So this is correct way to construct pass to file. But probably I would name this not fresh file. Instead, I would name this pass to fresh file, because it's not file content, but it's pretty minor stuff. Here we used async function because yes, I proposed you to use asynchronous versions of APIs wherever it's possible, and of course it's better to use asynchronous version of write file because we have write file sync, and we can import it from normal FS. This is synchronous version of this function, but it's better to use a synchronous one. We put here pass to file. This is file content and flag WX. Who knows why do we need this flag here? Please write in chat. Is it right to throw an error on zero level catch? Yes, why not? Here you have only one operation. You catch your error, and you don't need to get some properties from this error. So we don't extract it here, and we throw our custom error. Why not? Stopping rewrite, yes. Flag WX works just like flag W, which opens file for writing, but it has some differences because if file already exists, it throws error. So, according to the code, this should work. Let's check it. We will try to use npm script for this. Npm run fs create, and it created file fresh.txt with content I am fresh and young. Works pretty well. If we will try to run the script again, we will have error, fs operation failed. Why do we need this zero level catch? Because obviously actual error doesn't look like this. We will have some internal system error with code EE. E exists, file already exists, etc. But we expected this custom error, so everything is implemented correctly here. By the way, we could use callback API instead of promises API, but promises API is more modern way. All of you know about pyramid of doom and callback hell, and it would be nice to avoid this. Okay. What if there is console log fs in catch? I have shown it already. I showed you native error. Любовь, I hope you answered your question. So let's take a look at the next function. It's copy.js. We had to implement functions and copies folder files into files copy folder at the same level. If files folder doesn't exist or files copy has already been created, error is thrown. So let's take a look at the function implementation. We have the same dir name received the same way. We put source directory and destination directory to separate variables, which increases readability. It's good. And we use we use method fscp, which copies directories. By the way, here is provided a flag recursive true, which means that we will copy nested directories as well. For example, if we will create some nested directory inside of this one, it should be copied as well. Also, we have flag force that will override existing file or directory, and it's false, so we will not overwrite existing directory, and error on exist in case if this flag force is false, it will throw error if set to true. By default, it's false as well. Is it okay to use this unstable fscp method? Let's take a look. For this kind of code, I think it's fine, because as far as I remember, it will become stable in latest versions. So for learning tasks, it's okay. Of course, you can use more different APIs in order to increase your knowledge of FS APIs. You can get directory content, you can make all these recursive calls by your own, but in general, I think it's okay here. So let's check this function. npm run fscp. Oh, sorry, probably the script is named different. fscopy. It's fscopy. And we have directory files copy. We have nested folders copies copied as well. Error is thrown if files copy exists. And if we will try to copy non-existing folder, for example, let's probably not delete files directory, but let's try to change its name. We have the same error, so everything works correctly. Okay, let's probably move on. We had to implement functions that renames a file with wrong file name txt to proper file name with extension md. And if you will take a look inside of this file, you can see that it has markdown markup. So yes, this is markdown file which has wrong extension. Let's try to... No, first of all, we will take a look at the implementation. And we use asynchronous method rename. We provide two paths to file with which we want to rename, and we have to provide path to file with new file name. In general, it looks okay, but also I would like to extract this stuff into separated variables in order to increase readability. Source file and file path and destination file path, for example. Because I don't like those long one-liners. It's hard to read, to be honest. Now it looks better. Let's try to run this one. npm run fs rename. And yes, now you can see Markdown's markup here. You can see bold text and first level title. Okay, it seems to be working correctly. And it throws error if we can't find error with wrong file name txt. It's also part of implementation. Do you have any questions so far? Promises API, functions on promise. Tell us more about GL visual history. GitLens? Oh, GitLens, it's pretty useful functionality that allows us to check who changed file, to take a look at history, to use git blame. I don't think I have to spend time on this. You can write it on your own. No var code. What do you mean? Oh, yes. This is very useful extension, but we are here for reviewing this task, and we need to take a look at the next assignment. So I think we don't have to waste time on this, to be honest. Okay, let's take a look into delete function. File to remove. By the way, I use very nice extension which is named cspell. It highlights you some grammar mistakes. For example, you can see that file 2 should be two different words in camel case, and it highlights you. I highly recommend you to use this one. Okay, here we use fsrm method. Probably you know another method from fs which can help us to remove file. Let's write it in the chat. Yes, this is unlink. Maybe you know the differences between unlink and rm. While you are writing, I will try to remove this file. Fs delete. Yes, file has been removed. And fs operation fails because fsrm throws error if it's awaited, and this error is caught here, and we throw our own error. Okay, what's about unlink? Fs remove file. Not really. But unlink is a correct answer. Oh, anyway, it doesn't really matter. Okay. Let's check how list function works. This function prints array of file names from files folder into console. If this folder doesn't exist, we throw the same error. And we used asynchronous version of readdir function, and we provided it with path to our source directory. npm run fs list, and we've got a list of file names. Pretty straightforward. Okay. in read.js, we had to implement functions that prints content of the file to read.txt into console. Let's take a look at this one. File to read. Okay. Pass to file to read. We use method read file. We provide it with pass to file, and we provide it with option encoding UTF-8. And after that, we log file content into console. Let's take a look what's inside of this file. My content should be printed into console. Each of this statement is from new line. Let's check how it works. Run fs read. It works just okay, but we provided here encoding. What will happen if we will not provide this one? For example, we will provide empty object. So what chat will say? Let's see. If use stdout not console, using stdout is also okay, but console will provide you more, let's say, beautiful output in your terminal. Can you comment on using access file pass constants FOK in order to check whether file exists? As far as I remember, it's okay in general. Access, because it's not only checks access, it also checks permissions. So in general, it's fine, because in most cases you need to check whether you have permissions to change some file before writing to it. So you can check existence of file in this way. You can use stats, for example. Okay, but let's try fs read. Yes, we receive buffer. But in this case, we can, for example, stringify it manually. We can use buffers method to string, and we will see the same output. But in order to reduce amount of boilerplate, we can provide encoding to read file method. Okay. So we've done this file system part. Let's probably move on. Next one is command line interface. I wanted to show you how to work with command line arguments and environment variables, because both can be provided through console. We need to know how to provide it and how to handle it. So in file env.js, we had to implement functions that parses environment variables. We are interested not in all environment variables, only in those that starts from prefix RSS with underscore. And after that, we need to console to log them into console in some format, like variable name equal to variable value, semicolon, white space, and so on. And the last one is without semicolon on the end. In general, it looks fine, but we have too many stuff in one line. And you know, I don't like when you put some logic into console log, so probably it would be better to, I don't know, create separated variable, specify it stringified environment variables and put this code here. Because console log simply needs to, I simply needed to put some data into, to log some data, and I don't want to check logic inside of console log, to be honest. Do you understand what happens here? Or we need to explain it? White coder detected. I don't know what is white coder. What if file would be gone between file was checked and actually accessed, for example, deleted by other async task? Good question. By the way, that's why I think you shouldn't check presence of file separately. Because yes, between the call of the function when you check existence of the file and when you are writing to the non-existing file because someone deleted it in the middle, yes, you can have a problem that your check doesn't save you. So here it's implemented better because you have only one operation. If file doesn't exist, this one will throw error and you don't need to check it separately. But it depends on the implementation of your application. For example, here we don't have other users that can delete it. Maybe here it's for learning purposes it's acceptable. But yes, you need to have a transaction or you need to have one operation that will fail if file does not exist. This is very good comment. Okay. Probably it's clear what happens here. Process env is object which consists of key value pairs. We get keys and filter them. We have only those that starts with RSS, and after that we map array of those keys to the corresponding format and join it into string with semicolon and white space. And after that we print it into console. Pretty straightforward. And by the way, you had here script. It uses npx and crossenv in order to make it working consistently on Windows and Unix systems. And if we will run npm cli env, it's okay to satisfy its requests. We can see that it works correctly as well. Let's take a look at arguments. Arguments are stored in process argv, and student sliced it to third argument. Why do we need to do that? What's inside of first two arguments? Chat seems to be sleeping. We can check it easily using REPL. So process argv, and first one is passed to node binary, which is used in current node process, and second one would be passed to file which is executed. But in REPL we have only first one. Okay. By the way, we don't need to use rest spread here because slice create copy of array. It doesn't change it, so we could just make it like this. Process argv. After that, we extract value from this array. We again sliced it to two symbols because in our format we have two dashes here. So this way we will be able to take this value, and after that we again extract it from this array and put it into map of key values. And after that, we get keys and values from this object. We using destructure and assignment to extract it here, just inside of function arguments, and apply proper format to them and join them. Pretty similar to the previous situation, but again, I would like to extract here from console log as well. Stringify it, args, and put this code here. Okay. And it works the same way. Cool. Okay. Do you have any questions here? Pass to node and pass to script, right? I'm asleep. My Google Translator model in my head doesn't have time to return all. Okay. Let's move on then. Next one was tasks that helps you to understand differences between CommonJS and ECMAScript notation, because they have a lot of differences, and you were recommended to use ECMAScript notation here, because you have, as you notice, you have a type module here, which means that all those files with JS extension are considered to be ECMAScript modules. But you can still use CommonJS modules inside of this directory by using extension CJS. And let's try to compare these files. Here we require some external files, which refers us to JSON files and file with code. Here we import some Node.js APIs. We do it in different ways. We use import by default. We use named imports. Also, we have require depends on some condition. Also, what else do we have here? Our module exports some variables, and we need to make this export correctly in ECMAScript module version as well. So there are some, like, caveats here. First of all, you had to solve problems with file name and their name, because in CommonJS modules it's inbuilt global variables. It's provided into module using closure, but inside of ECMAScript module you don't have file name and their name by default, and you have to take care of it on your own. Second question was that you are able to use require not on the top level, but if you will try to do something, like this, it will not work, unfortunately, because you will get error that import declaration cannot be used at top level. This is first problem. Second problem is that you can't import JSON modules by default. One way to solve this was use create require. Using this functionality, you can create require that will work as in CommonJS modules, and you will be able to import JSON modules just as in CommonJS notation. As I mentioned previously, you have to deal with dir name and file name on your own. We already seen how it works while we were checking file system part. Also, this is how it works in context of export. Here we have module exports that we need to use for exporting some functionality. We can rewrite this object completely, or we can assign some properties to this. And here we can use export keyword in order to provide exports from this file. I mean named exports. And let's check that it works correctly. Yes, we have script for this as well. npm run modules. It runs esm.mjs module. And important part here is that we need to check that we import different files randomly. So let's run it again. Yes, you can see that unknown object is different on sorry. I created new terminal. Yes, it was A11 22 33 and A1 B2 C3, and it refers us to different objects. So this part works correctly in ECMAScript notation as well. It's okay. Do you have questions here? Is it possible to use unknown object, await import, assert type JSON? Yes, as far as if there is no syntactic error, it should work. But this one importing of JSON modules is not stable at the moment. It's experimental, but it will work. And if you need to have imports depending on some conditions, you don't have to switch to require. You can use dynamic imports. By the way, please remember that import is not a function. It's just a keyword, it's specific syntactical construct. And if you use it this way, this question is commonly asked on interviews. Import is not a function. Okay. If used required, but it works. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Next one is hash. We need to implement functions that calculates SHA 256 hash for file to calculate hash for txt, and logs this hash in console in hex format. Let's take a look at the implementation. Hash, calc hash. Let's close those. What do we have here? We have pass to file. We use asynchronous read file from fs promises. After we read file content, it's buffer because we didn't transform it to stream, but we did it intentionally here because create hash returned object instance of hash, it returns buffer. Sorry, it accepts buffer. So we don't have to switch from string to buffer back and forth. We need to use buffer here. And we can digest it as hex. It should work correctly. Let's check. We have hash here, and hash depends on file contents. So if we will change file contents, we will see that we have completely different hash. And for the same file content, we will have the same hash. This is how we check that our file is not damaged and not replaced by some like evil hackers that want us to run some their file with virus, for example. You can check your files now using pure Node.js. Next one is module related to streams. You had to implement three types of simple streams: readable stream, writable stream, and transform stream. Let's take a look at the implementation. It's inside streams folder. Here we use create read stream method from fs. It creates readable stream. We need to provide it with a path to file. At least we can also provide some options. It's described in documentation. And in order to read our file, we need to put this readable stream. We need to pipe it somewhere. Because if we will not pipe this stream, it will not read. Yes, if we will comment this one and just run this file, we will see nothing. It doesn't work that way. And easier way to see some output is pipe our readable stream to writable stream, which is process std_out. It's a duplex stream, but it implements writable interface, so we can use it as writable stream. And in this case, we will see file contents of this file to read. This file should be read using Streams API. By the way, maybe you can tell me why we see it in this weird format without a new line. What's the problem? If I added a secret here, is that a mistake in hash task? I don't get what you mean, sorry. Read stream on readable. Yes. You have different ways to read from file. No new line in file itself, yes, but also if you work with process std_out, not using some interfaces like console, you will not have additional new line there. Yes, std_out doesn't add this new line by default. It's raw output channel, so it prints everything just as you send it there. And yes, we could, for example, subscribe on We could, for example, subscribe on read or readable event or on data event. GitHub Copilot suggests us good things. And it will work the same way. But you shouldn't mix those APIs. You should use pipe or pipeline or subscription to events of stream. Not mix it. It's a bad option. Okay, it seems that read works correctly. Let's take a look at write. Here we create write stream with path to file. And after that, we pipe process std in and we pipe it to write stream. Let's check how it works. You can see that process is not finished. System awaits for prompt. We can write some prompts. And we should see that our file to write contains this stuff. It's not immediately sent there, it's buffered first, but after that you will see your contents from console here. Okay, it seems to be working fine. By the way, we can do it manually because we can subscribe, for example, on process std in data event, and after that we can manually write it using we can manually send it into writable stream. But piping simplifies this task for us. And next one is transform stream. Your task was implement transform stream that will be in between of your readable and writable streams, and it will transform your input. Here we have reversing transform stream that just reverses what you send into console. So let's check AAA BBB, and here we have BBB AAA. It seems to be working. And it's very useful to have here not pipes chain, because it would work the same way. For example, we could not use pipeline API. We could just do something like CLI input pipe, reverse pipe, CLI output. It would work the same way. But here we don't have error handling, and if we want it, we need to do it multiple times. By using pipeline, we can have one error handler for all the streams. It's pretty convenient. And if we don't use some variables, but we need to have it because we need a third argument here, it's good to use common convention and name this variable as underscore, which tells us that we don't use this variable. Okay, next one is zlib. We had to implement compress and decompress methods that compresses file to compress to archive gz using zlib and streams API, and implement functions that decompresses archive gz. Let's take a look at the implementation. Compress. We have source file, pass to source file, pass to destination file, and we do it using streams. We create readable stream from source file. We create a writable stream that has a destination file, and we create a gzip stream, which is actually a transform stream and do the same stuff as in previous task. We put it into pipeline. Let's check how it works. PM run zip compress. It's named zip. We have archive gz here, and let's check how the compress works. Let's remove this one. Oh, it seems to be working. Let's take a look at the decompress implementation. It has the same implementation, except the fact that we don't have create gzip, we have create unzip here. By the way, we have two different functions in Node.js, create unzip and create unzip. And it expects a slightly different input. Probably here it works the same way, but if you use create gzip, you should use create unzip in order to make these formats compatible. Maybe it fails not in all the cases, but it would be better. Let's take a look at the chat. It's better to use OS-EOL and not /n to add new line. Yes, it's a good note, because OS-EOL refers us to default end of line in the system, because it depends on system preferences. You are right. But my point was that prod_systEDAO doesn't add this automatically. Simon says implement function that reads data from prod_systEDIN, reverses text using transform stream, so function is implemented incorrectly. Why is it implemented incorrectly? Sorry. It was related to streams. prod_systEDIN, prod_systEDOUT. It was just put into variables in order to rename. To be honest, it's excessive, because it's just a link to the object. It doesn't bring us any real value, but okay, it still satisfies requirements of the task. Okay. Can we use $sign to make variable as stream? No, please don't do that. In RxJS it's acceptable, but please don't use this one. It's not about functional programming. We are just using meaningful names. Okay. It seems there are no questions at the moment. Let's move forward. We have interesting part here, because we have worker threads and child processes. You could briefly touch it in order to understand how it works. You had two files, worker.js and main.js. Which represents main process and process that will be run in worker threads. By the way, could you please answer the question, do we need to have separated files for worker thread and for main thread? No. How we can achieve this in single file? Yes, we can use isMainThread or we can use opposite version of it. I just split it into two files in order to make it easier for you, to make it more readable. But yes, we don't need to use different files. We can use just switch. If is main thread, and in this fork, in this branch we write code for main thread, else, and in this branch we write code for worker thread. What you had to implement here, you need to establish connection between worker threads and main thread. You need to implement proper number of worker threads equal to CPU's amount. And for each CPU, you had to create worker threads that will perform calculations for Fibonacci number starting from 10 plus number of logical kernel of CPU. Let's check how it works. We had script for this. npm run wt. It seems to be working. If we will have errors there, we had to have different status and data null. Let's check. For example, we can randomly throw error there. Let's use our previous example. Something went wrong. And as far as you can see, in part of workers, we got error, and status is error, and data is null. In order to achieve this, we subscribed on event error and handled it properly. Okay. We can if we are talking about what is the number of worker threads, we should take into account logical kernels of your central processor. But in 18 version of Node.js, you have better stuff. You have it's also located in OS module. You have available parallelism. According to the task requirements, you had to implement numbers of workers equal to logical kernels, but you can use this as well. And it should be better, to be honest. We don't have length because it returns number. And yes, in my case, it's equal to number of kernels. But it may be different. And available parallelism is better. Okay. Any questions here? What has been done by student? You had this one. You only had to send your message using parent port post message here, and here you had to create a proper amount of workers. Why it's better? Because sometimes your system available parallelism is not equal to the number of your logical cores. We have, as far as I remember, we have explanation in documentation. Available parallelism, yes. Because it inspects CPU affinity. So it's designed for getting available parallelism. Okay, child processes. You have two files here, file cp that should spawn child process and file script, which should be used to create child process from it, and you had to establish communication between parent process and child process. Let's check whether it works. Total number of arguments is 2. This process received arguments and it's printed it. And if we have close in our input, process will exit. And if it doesn't contain close, we will just log this. It seems to be working correctly. Let's check how it was implemented. Student followed the simpler way because fork by default establish this connection. We also had questions how to check that connection established properly. Let's try to change our arguments. Let's provide additional ones. You can see that total number of arguments changed. So yes, we have communication between this process and child process. It works. We can use not only fork, we can use, for example, spawn, but in this case, we need to specify that we want to create node process. We need to provide arguments there. First one should be passed to the file that you want to create child process from, and after that you will need to provide arguments. Sorry, we have typo here. And this will be instance of our child process. What should we do next? If we will not use fork, communication will not be established automatically. Please try to give clear description when task is given. I'm having a hard time to understand description of tasks. As for me, this description is pretty clear. You have a function spawn child process. It receives array of arguments and creates child process from file script.js. What is not understandable here? Here is your function. Here is your file script.js. You can open documentation of child processes module and check how to create child process from a script file. And after that, you have to connect child processes to the in should receive input from master processes to the in, and child processes to the out should send data to master processes to the out. Sorry, I can't explain it better, unfortunately. So, what do we need to do here? If you want to establish connection, add additional options to arguments. We should establish connection anyway. No, some students think that only spawn should be used. Not, you could use fork, you could use spawn. Spawn is more generic. We also had different stuff. We have not only spawn and fork. You can check it in documentation. We also have spawn sync, and we have exec, and we have exec file. Everything you can find inside of child processes documentation. Yes, we have exec file, fork, spawn, and we have synchronous version of these methods as well. So we have object of child process, and all we need is to pipe std in and std out. In order to do this, we need to pipe process std in to child process std in and child process std out. We should pipe to process std out, and it should work correctly as well if you want to do it manually. Yes, it works the same way. But it was not necessary, you could use fork. Fork is used specifically for Node.js processes. Maybe we don't need to reinvent the wheel, but for training purposes, it may be good for you to try to do this. Because the function is called spawn child process. std io IPC, yes, we have these options as well. But fork, spawn, oh, just about naming. Both variants are correct. You can use both. Okay, do you have questions related to this task? Everything seems to be working correctly. No external dependencies are used here because we don't have dependencies here. Also, I have one notes related to code style because somewhere I've seen that student uses semicolons, somewhere he doesn't do this. Yes, here it's missing, here it's present, so I would like to say that it would be better to be consistent here. So you should use it or don't use it, but it's easily fixable but by some CI stuff like prettier, ESLint, etc. But anyway, even if you don't use it, it would be better to be consistent. What else do we have here? I also noticed that somewhere student uses named imports and somewhere default imports. Maybe it would be better consistent here too as well. Also, to be honest, I don't get what was the purpose of mapping this file URL to pass to get file name from URL, because anyway you have to import this function. You could just import this one everywhere where it's used. I don't see profit here in this mapping. But in general, this is good solution. It works as expected. Maybe minor code style issues. Let's check for questions and probably we will move on to the next task. According to the task, we need to use APC. Fork establish inter-process communication channel by default. So fork is correct too. So spawn without pipes would be incorrect implementation. Spawn without pipes, as far as I remember, spawn has some options, and you can create it with channel. If I am not wrong. Let's see. Yes, we have std IO option, and we can configure inter-process communication channel here as well. But we've done it manually here. You have multiple ways to do it. Of course, it's better to provide some configuration and not to reinvent a bicycle, but you have to know that under the hood it works pretty easy. We just have the same streams that we pipe one into another. Okay. Let's move on. Can I use stdio and carry option instead of piping explicitly? Yes, you can. Spawn doesn't use by default IPC. Which extension is GitHub Copilot? I couldn't do it on time of this task, and I will should continue doing from second task. You can continue, of course. It's not directly connected. You can just implement second task. Even if you will not be able to pass deadline, and also when you give a task, James, unfortunately, we are limited with our capacity because we don't have like persons that have compensations for this course, and time up to time we don't have demos or examples because we are not able to create it. But for this task, I will show you how it should work. For next task, I have demo. No, it's okay, you are correct, but it's not because we don't understand that it would be better to provide examples, demos, etc. We simply don't have enough mentors and capacity to cover all the stuff. Sorry about this. Okay, let's move on. Your next module is still related to Node.js APIs. And you have practical assignment, file manager. You will use APIs that you've learned in previous task to create command line interface application. This file manager will work using CLI. You will perform some operations like with file system, like copy, move, delete, rename. Yeah. Sounds pretty familiar. You will use Streams API where possible, and you should not use external dependencies as well as in previous task, and still LTS version of Node.js. Let me show you the demo. Let's check how it works. I will hide file structure. First of all, we need to run our program. For this, we should use following format: npm run start -- to provide additional arguments, and -- username equal to your username. For example, my name is Maxim. We have invitational message, welcome to file manager Maxim, and it prints where I am currently in. I am currently inside of the folder users Maxim. Let's check what do we have here. We can print command ls, and we have some information about names and types of what we have here inside of this folder. And for example, we can try to navigate. We can go to some folder. Let's go to the folder JS, for example. Let's try to do it. cd.js. You are currently inside of JS folder. And let's check. Yes, we have a lot of different stuff here. It's for sure doesn't look like previous folder. What else do we have here? If we will use command up, we will go upper, and upper to the root folder, and if we will use up in the root folder, we are still in the root folder. Okay, let's go back. What else do we have here? We can rename file, we can add file. For example, let's create some file name. Add my awesome file.txt. Let's check. We have my awesome file.txt and it's empty. If we will try to read it by using another command, we will see nothing because file content is empty. What else? We can rename it using command rn. We should provide initial path to file and new file name. New file name.txt. Let's check what do we have in this directory. We have new file name, but we don't have previous file. Awesome file has gone. Also, we can move file. It should work the same way using previous path to file and path to new directory. Please pay attention that it's path to new directory, not path with file name. And we can finally delete file using rm command new file name.txt. It should be removed. Yes, we don't have it here. Also, we can get some information about our operational system using OS group of commands. For example, we can get EOL. It looks like new line, but it printed actual EOL. We can get number of CPUs by using CPUs command. We can have some information, model and speed. Unfortunately, it can work not correctly on Mac. As far as you can see, probably you have to deal with it somehow, but I didn't do it for demo. Also, we can have home dir here. It's a directory of current user by default, and we can get system username. Please note that it's not username that you provided by the start, because I provided Maxim and my system username is Maxim Shilov. And architecture, we can have architecture of our CPU. It's RM64. We can calculate hash from file. We can compress and decompress file. I will not show it because you've seen how it works on previous task. What is important here? If we will try to perform a known operation, we have to get prompt from system that input is invalid, but we should be able to perform subsequent operations. What else? If we will try to perform operation on, for example, if we will try to rename non-existent file, you should see message operation failed, and you still should be able to prompt additional commands. Your application shouldn't crash. User can't go upper than root directory. Also, program work should be finished on Control C. And you should see message, thank you for using file messenger, your username, goodbye. And also you have to see the same stuff if you will print .exit on prompt. If username is not provided, it's undefined. Probably we don't have to handle empty username here. But you can replace this awesome undefined with, for example, some stuff like anonymous, etc. Okay, I think I covered everything during the demo. Yes, that's probably it. Copy, remove, delete, move, what else? You have everything in description of assignment. Read file, cut command, create empty file, rename, copy, move, delete. From file system, that's all. Std in data, get command data, try commands, catch invalid commands. What do you think about this way to handle the commands in the second task? I think that it's acceptable, but I highly recommend you to try to use readline interface. Can rename func be implemented not using streams? Of course, of course. Um, for functions that should be implemented using readable and writable streams, you have specific node in the parentheses. As far as you can see on rename file, you don't have this node. So you don't have to use streams there. You don't need to use streams to rename file. Of course, you can read a previous file and using write stream create a copy of it, but it's unnecessary. Is that our actual system directory or not? Yes, it's real directory. I will not share with you this stuff because I have a lot of personal information there, but it should be actual system directory, of course. Do we have to create a new repository for this? Yes, you need to create separated repository for this, according to the flow described in the frequently asked questions. Okay, probably looping RL question or listening to RL online. As for me, listening for RL line is better, but you can loop question. Maybe you can do it in different way. I'm not sure. But as for me, this option is acceptable and it's totally fine. What about cross-check? As I mentioned, you have task cross-check review. It's available, and date is 26th of June. It's Monday, so you have to submit your solution before Monday's evening. Sorry, not solution, your evaluation of student task. Previously, you submitted a solution for review, and now you review solutions of other students. It's on different pages. Unfortunately, I don't have these pages here, but I have it here. It's cross-check submit, and it's cross-check review. Probably we don't have here actual tasks, but please note that you have to check all students' works in cross-check review page. So, and you have test. You also have test for this week. It's about Node.js basics, and its deadline is 4th of June. So please don't miss it. You have enough time for this, but don't forget about this. That's probably it for today. I will wait a little bit for your questions, and then we could probably wrap up. Thank you all for your activity. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired at the end of the working day, but I hope it still was helpful for you. That styled output as table. How is that implemented in general? It's implemented very easy. Console has method console table that provides us this cool output out of the box. You don't need to use any packages, libraries, external dependencies for this. So try to adapt this to your solution. Nope, not console dir, console table. Okay, Thank you. Have a nice evening, and we'll see you in the next Monday. See you. Bye.